Chapter 23. Siel, Assilare. Rusty and Mitch sit on the front porch as the streetlights kick on. We're both thinking it, and someone has to say it. It's been hours. He must have killed her, Mitch says. If she's been killed, we're fighting blind. Neither of us knows anything about Yamura, Rusty says. We know he wants to kill us, so that's good. How is that good? If he is so bent on killing us, that means he's afraid of something only we must be capable of. He keeps talking about bloodlines and ancestors. Maybe our family are the only ones who can defeat him. Mitch stares out solemnly. You showed no fear and really manned up. I'm envious. It took everything I had not to shit myself. It doesn't matter. If Dad hadn't arrived, we'd both be dead. Well, we can't rely on our dad our whole lives. We need to take the fight to him. I don't think he'd suspect it. He's too strong. We can't beat him. Mitch shakes his head in disappointment and stands up. Then I'll go after him alone if you're too much of a pussy. Rusty punches his older brother in the gut and quickly stands up. I'll protect Mom and Dad. I won't fail. Easy, little bro, Mitch coughs. Neither of us need to do this on our own. We need to come at him with a plan. He was able to make us look like bitches. How do we fight him? He seemed scared of Dad when he pulled out his gun. Maybe he isn't too strong to survive a gunshot, Rusty says. Mitch nods. That's good to know, but Dad won't let us go out with any firearms. I'm not sure I'd want to shoot him anyways, Rusty admits. It's still Jake's body. What if there's still a way to get Jake back? We won't be able to do so if his body's full of bullet holes. That ship has already sailed. Jake's gone forever. We can't worry about him anymore. All we need to think about is stopping Yamura from hurting anyone else. Gator steps outside, dressed in camouflage BDUs and a black muscle shirt. Several knives and guns are strapped to his waist. You boys stay here and protect Derek and your mother. I'm going to go stop Yamura. No way, Rusty shouts in protest. We're going too. We can't leave this fight to you. How can we expect to grow if we have to turn to you to save us from every emergency? We have to do this, Dad. We have to stand up for ourselves, Mitch agrees. This isn't any normal situation. I don't even know what this Yamura possessing Jake is. We don't know the scope of his power or all of his abilities. I can't fight him all out, worrying if you boys are safe, Gator says. Then don't worry about us, Rusty says. Don't treat us like liabilities. If we're going to fight Yamura, we need to do it together. We're stronger together, and you know that. Gator sighs loudly. Fine, but if it gets too bad, you have to promise me that you'll step back and let me do what needs to be done. Rusty shakes his head. I'm not going to run away from this fight. I'm going to see it through to the end. Gator turns to his eldest. Would you make sure that your brother doesn't do anything reckless? Mitch nods. I won't let anything happen to the runt. Where do we start looking for him? Rusty asks. Gator closes his eyes and calms his breathing. I can't sense him this far away. We'll have to go to Rockland and try to locate him from there. If it was Danny and her people that were behind Jake's possession, we should start with her karate school, Mitch says. Dojo, Gator interrupts. Yeah, her dojo. Yamura might be using it as a base of operations. Gator nods. Good call, I agree. We'll start there. Danny awakens in a hospital bed. Numerous tubes and wires are attached to her arms and chest. Her heartbeat increases as she begins to panic, alerting a nurse who runs in to check on her. Where am I? Danny whispers through a breathing mask. You have 3 broken ribs. Your back has hairline fractures. You have internal bleeding, bruised kidneys, a concussion, and dozens of cuts and swollen bruises. Danny is silent, thinking only of her failure. Not only was she unable to get the book, but Sensei Schaefer and Glaus are both dead for nothing. The nurse steps back into the hall to speak with Detectives Osteen and Morris, and Lieutenant Hendricks. She's awake. Take it easy on her, though. We don't want the internal bleeding to start again, the nurse tells them. The officers step into the room and stand to one side of Danny, so she doesn't feel trapped. Your name is Daniela Grace Livingston, correct? Lieutenant Hendricks asks. Danny nods and he continues. You're a student in martial arts of Elian Schaefer? He pauses and waits for another nod. Did you like Elian? I mean, did he always seem like a stand-up guy? He's dead. There's nothing else to say, she whispers. Did you ever see him in any arguments? Did anyone ever come to the dojo to speak with him? Other than Yamura? No. It wasn't a hitman, a drug deal gone bad, or a jealous husband. He was killed by Yamura, Danny says. The demon, the one let out of a necklace? Lieutenant Hendricks asks, reading from the notes collected by Detective Morris and trying to suppress his skepticism. If you don't believe me, it doesn't matter. Whether you believe me or not, he's not going to stop killing. What's his real name? He's been described as a teenager. Does he go to your school? Danny rolls over and winces in pain, turning her back to the officers. They return to the hallway. She's clearly hiding something. I don't think she's crazy or in shock. I think she's deliberately lying to us, Lieutenant Hendricks says. We owe it to Duane to find his killer. He was convinced it was Schaefer, but that's probably what got him killed. The second perp got the drop on him and turned on his accomplice, Detective Osteen says. The boys downstairs are trying to get prints off the bodies we found in the alley and match them to the ones we recovered off Schaefer, the Glaus boy, and Duane, Detective Morris says. If he is a teenager, he probably has no record, and he won't be on file. We have to be prepared for a dead end. Morris, go to the school tomorrow and get a list of all the high school and junior high school students who were truant during all of this. We'll go door to door if we have to. Osteen, you stay here and try to get anything useful you can out of the girl. I'm going to go to the local PD and see if they have anything to share. Be careful. This guy was able to kill a veteran detective and at least 9 local PD. He uses explosives and God knows what else. If we sniff around the wrong place, he might have a trap already set for us, Detective Morris cautions. Lieutenant Hendricks nods and leaves the hospital. It takes him only a few minutes to reach the Rockland Police Department, and he heads to the receptionist. Is Sheriff Cameron busy? He asks, setting his IMPD badge on the table. He's just reviewing the crime scene photos from the martial arts school. I'll buzz you in, replies Ruth O'Donnell, an older woman with jet black hair and thick pink glasses. The police station is a madhouse. Officers are running in every direction, answering phones and tagging pushpins into a large map of the city. He's on foot. Why the fuck can't we corner this guy? I have 6 patrols on this goddamn street alone, Sheriff Stephen Cameron shouts, pushing past several officers. Come to take jurisdiction? You can fucking have it. This motherfucker's a goddamn phantom. He pops up, kills a couple people, then magically fucking blips out of goddamn existence. This is your stadium, Coach. I'm just providing a few extra players, Lieutenant Hendricks replies, knowing that despite his complaints, no sheriff wants out-of-town detectives to come and push them around. All the witnesses describe the perp as a goth-looking teenage boy, about 5'10", black hair, black clothing, and black makeup around his eyes. Nowadays, every fucking kid with a rebellious streak becomes a fucking serial killer. What happened to rebellious teens spray painting buildings and stealing team mascots? I don't know, Sheriff. These are complicated times. Complicated my fucking ass. The goddamn parents should be knocking the shit out of these punks the first time they get out of line. Put a stop to this gosh shit real fucking quick. One of my men is going to the school tomorrow to get a list of all the kids who were absent yesterday. What about the survivor, the Livingston girl? She's still devoted to her fairy tale about a demon serial killer named Yamura. I don't think she's going to turn out to be much help. An officer named Kevin Richardson walks up to them. Sir, Patrol Car 7 just spotted someone who matches our perp's description in the alley between Lunsford's drugstore and the barbershop. Keep 7 out front and get Car 8 to head off to Helveston Street. Bring down hell upon whoever this messed up little fuckhead is, Sheriff Cameron says. Where is this area in town? Lieutenant Hendricks asks, pointing to the map of the town. Sheriff Cameron puts a tack in front of Helveston Street before it intersects with Washington Avenue. He came into town from the south, got through the barricade on Highway 27, and went to the northwest side of town to kill Schaefer, the Glass Boy, and our lead detective on the case. Now he's running along a path northwest, headed southwest. Detective Osteen attempts to extract any more information out of Danny that he can. She continues to be less than cooperative, rarely giving out more than a shrug for an answer. The body of a friend and colleague was found in a locked room in the basement of the dojo. He'd been dead for at least 24 hours. Schaefer had to have known about it. Did a police officer come by the dojo asking questions? Did you ever hear your sensei mention him? Osteen asks. Danny shakes her head slowly. The painkillers make her head swim, and she struggles to organize even the simplest of thoughts. The detective's radio kicks on, and he steps back into the hallway. Our suspect is in the northern section of town. The locals are trying to box him in at his last known location. I need you to come down here. I want to set up a new barricade on the same route that he entered town from. It seems he's headed back in that direction. Detective Osteen heads to the waiting area where Detective Morris is sitting on a sofa, drinking a coffee and reviewing the file on Ellie and Schaefer. Hendricks wants me to head over to meet up with him at the local PD. You think you can handle it here? Morris holds up a hand, not looking up from the file. I think I can manage. A large crow lands on the windowsill of Schaefer's martial arts dojo. Flexing its wings, the bird transforms into a black-haired and bearded man, wearing the dark blue robe of a master-level magician. Tor's Forgeron surveys the crime scene with fascination. Forgeron ducks beneath the caution tape and begins to look round. Based on the destruction present, a furious battle took place. The walls have numerous holes and dents in them, and the trophy case is completely shattered. Forgeron smacks his lips and grimaces, tasting the air. The slightly metallic taste of magic lingers. So, this is where you've been hiding all these years, Forgeron whispers, speaking of his former apprentice, Elian. The spell you used to keep us from tracking you was impressive. Such a shame your story had to end this way. Had you remained my student, you would have been peerless. He tries to piece together the events that transpired from the visible damage to the building. At least you put up a decent fight. It would reflect poorly upon me if a student of mine was unable to defend himself at all. Forgeron walks through the building, making mental notes of what he observes. Chalk outlines remain of Elian, Glaus, and a student named Jackson Hest. Kneeling beside a pool of blood within the chalk outline of the largest figure, Fordron mutters to himself. Sangue, memoria. The magician's index finger begins to glow, and he touches it to the blood gently. Through his contact, the magician is able to see the events as they unfolded. Fordron witnesses the ritual to revive Yamura, the failed attempt to remove Jake's spirit, and the eventual deaths of Glaus and Elian at Yamura's hands. Interesting. The apprentice of my apprentice seems to have more natural skill than Elian himself. She also survived up until Elian's death, and there are only 3 outlines. Getting a hold of that raw talent would benefit me greatly. Very few people have been touched by dark magic and not been consumed. She would be a very valuable resource. A lingering police officer appears from the hallway leading to the basement. Hey, you can't be here, the officer shouts. Badare al controle, Fordron says nonchalantly. In control of the man's mind, the magician is able to easily look into his memories and his past thoughts. Tell me, who survived this incident? There was a survivor. A teenage girl was taken to the hospital, the officer says in a monotone voice. She was the only person present when we arrived. Who is she? Fordron asks. Her name is Daniela Grace Livingston. She is 17. She is a junior at Rockland High School. She was a student of Elian Schaefer's at this martial arts dojo. And what happened to her? Where is she now? She sustained injuries in the attack. She was taken to Rockland Medical Center. Is she your suspect? Is she responsible for the deaths of these people? No. She claimed a demon named Yamura killed her classmates and her teacher. No one believes her. And did she say anything else about this Yamura? Only that he is possessing the body of another teenager named Jake Stewart. He is also very powerful. Yamura, Fordron whispers. Why does that name sound so familiar? I do not know why it sounds so familiar, the officer says in a daze. Fordron stares at the officer for a moment in irritation. That wasn't a question for you. Go to sleep. The officer collapses unconscious. I need to pay Miss Livingston a visit at the hospital and have a chat with the pupil of my pupil. Danny pulls out several tubes and gently sets her feet upon the floor. She nearly falls, so her legs are almost completely unresponsive from the heavy medication. The nurse enters, alerted when the monitors connected to the girl sent out error messages from being unplugged. Lay back down. You're in no condition to try and stand. I'm sorry, Danny whispers, raising a hand. I don't have time for that luxury. Badare al controle. The nurse's eyes glaze over and she stiffens. Do you have a car here? Danny asks. Yes, the nurse replies robotically. I need you to drive me to the police station. Can you do that? My shift is not finished for another 3 hours, the nurse replies. It's okay. Tell them that you fell ill, Danny says. The nurse nods, a sudden upset stomach falling upon her. The suggestive magic is strong, the implanted thought actually convincing her body of its truth. She holds her abdomen and winces. It isn't that bad. You'll be okay. Let's go. The nurse puts her arm around Danny, and helps her out into the hallway. Danny cautions her to avoid being seen by Detective Morris, and they head to the elevator to the parking garage. The nurse sets her on the passenger seat of her car and then climbs to the other side. Yamura isn't leaving town. He's looking for the highest concentration of energy to steal. If I'm right, he's going to head right for the police station. Perched upon a small red car, opposite Danny, sits a watchful crow. Amy Cross enters the police station and approaches the receptionist. "Can I help you, miss?" Ruth asks. "I need to speak to the sheriff." "I'm sorry, but he's really busy with an important case." "I know the identity of the murderer from the news reports. The one with the spiky black hair, strange tattoos, and red eyes." Sheriff Cameron and Lieutenant Hendricks pause mid-sentence, overhearing Amy's declaration. "I'm Lieutenant Andrew Hendricks, and this is Sheriff Stephen Cameron," Hendricks says, approaching the girl with a handshake. "And you are?" "Amy Cross." "Do you go to school here, Amy?" "I'm a freshman." "That's a hard year. You said you know the killer? Is he in one of your classes?" "He's my boyfriend's cousin. His name is Jake Stewart." Lieutenant Hendricks turns to speak with an officer seated at the desk. "Pull up everything you have on this Stewart kid. I want dental, immunization, and even where he took his last summer vacation. I need the works." "How do you know it's him? We could ruin a kid's life if you're misidentifying him just because you have personal issues with him," Sheriff Cameron cautions Amy. "I know it's him. He's made many death threats against us. Killed my dog. And he's friends with that girl that attends the martial arts school where those men were found dead today. The Livingston girl. It all fits," Lieutenant Hendricks whispers. "Where is Jake? Do you know exactly what it is that he's planning?" A loud explosion rocks the building as the front doors are blasted apart. Two officers in the lobby are strewn to the floor and remain motionless. "It's him! He's here!" Amy screams, hiding behind the cops. Yamura steps through the now open hole where the doors were and grins. "There are many humans here with above average strength. Their spirits will provide me with much power." Conco Pharmaceuticals, Rockland, Indiana. Director Boyd works on his computer when the police scanner suddenly kicks into full gear. "All available units, return to the station. We're under attack. It's the serial killer. He's here." The dispatcher becomes silent. "What the hell?" Boyd whispers. "He's attacking the police station? Is he suicidal?" He begins to consider the benefits of the situation. This prick getting killed by the police will swallow all the blame for the people who have gone missing in town. The scapegoat will clear the slate for us. Boyd grins widely. This move will allow me one step closer to getting into Khan's inner circle. His secretary knocks on the door. "Mr. Boyd, you have visitors." Boyd frowns. He doesn't like unannounced visitors. They are usually branch representatives, and those guys give him the creeps. "Who is it?" "Security Captain Jean Coul de Louf, from the Chicago branch, sir," she replies. "A security officer? That bastard representative must think I can't handle my own damn town, Boyd thinks in frustration. Send him in, Boyd replies reluctantly. Director, the man says with a curt nod, entering the office. Jean is tall and tanned with dark black hair. Boyd finds his mustache to be comical, like an old cartoon villain. He is flanked by a young man and a woman, both in their 20s. This is Lane Bannister and Hendry Langdon, he introduces his companions. Director Roger Boyd, Boyd replies, shaking Jean's hand. How may I help you? I believe that we were sent here to help you. Boyd grinds his teeth. I was hoping you weren't going to say that. I don't know what the representative has been saying, but I have things quite under control here. Jean chuckles. Is that why you have a possessed teenager wreaking havoc in your city? Possessed? Boyd whispers in confusion. Are you speaking about the serial killer? Jean nods. He is possessed by an ancient spirit. A strong one at that, the female, Lane, adds. We believe it to be a Sakari named Yamura. It was determined your in-house team will not be adequate to handle this disturbance. My security captain is more than capable of dealing with one kid, Boyd snaps back, insulted. Hendry begins to laugh. Bronson Mayfield barely passed training. Why do you think he was put in charge of a backwoods town like this? John touches Hendry's shoulder, stopping him. We have decided to lend these two to provide supplemental assistance to Captain Mayfield's team until the threat is past. Please do not take this as a personal slight. That isn't necessary. The killer is at the police station as we speak. He has probably been gunned down already. Jean looks to his companions. Lane shakes her head slowly. I still sense him. He is very much alive. Go meet with Captain Mayfield and move out immediately. If the police department falls, out-of-towners will be sent to restore order, and that is something Conco would like to avoid, Jean says. Lane nods, and she and Hendry leave quickly. I have not given my approval, Boyd growls angrily. This order comes from the very top, Director. From Mr. Khan? Boyd whispers. Jean nods. Losing even a single branch facility is something Mr. Khan will go to any length to avoid. Boyd sits down, defeated. Tell Mr. Khan he has our complete cooperation. Jean grins, leaving. Very good, Director. Several officers draw their sidearms, but Yamura throws his arm to the side and consumes them with black energy. Yamura chants as the men's bodies are burned to ash. Evoking the power of Siel Assilare, he converts their spirits into tattoos on his neck. He has explosives! Shoot to kill! Sheriff Cameron shouts, raising his gun and taking the first shot. Yamura turns, the bullet clipping him in the left shoulder and nearly knocking him off his feet. He quickly releases a burst of energy from his right hand, which explodes a desk in front of the sheriff and knocks him off his feet. Yamura causes one of the tattoos on his arm to dissolve, using its stored energy to heal his wound. As long as they do not hit anything vital, I possess more than enough strength to eliminate them all. Get to the back, we need the shotguns, Sheriff Cameron shouts, being helped back to his feet by Richardson. They hurry down the hall, leaving a line of 4 officers to remain between the desks to take shots at Yamura. The Sicarii walks forwards, tilting his body to take each shot to the shoulder or arm. As he walks, tattoos dissolve into a black mist as they heal each wound almost instantaneously. He reaches the officers and grabs the first arm, twisting it abruptly until it snaps. The man screams, and Yamura throws an arm out to consume the others in a Basa Iya energy blast. Yamura rips the man's throat out and tosses him to the floor, heading down the hall to follow the sheriff and the remaining officers. "What the hell is he? I didn't see him throw any bombs, so how did he make those explosions?" one of the officers with the sheriff asks. No one is able to reply. The fear and confusion is too thick in the air. They're supposed to be able to handle any domestic threat, but they are being slaughtered by one teenage boy who appears to be unarmed. "Filthy human pests," Yamura says, dropping another officer to the floor as he turns a corner in the hallway. Sheriff Cameron moves away from the other officers and slowly heads down the hall to the left, leaning on the wall for support. "Where are you going?" Lieutenant Hendricks asks. "We need a distraction if we want to come up with a plan to take this motherfucker down." Sheriff Cameron reaches the prison wing. For a town Rockland's size, temporary holding cells are usually sufficient. For some reason, amidst the surrounding communities of farming and agriculture, Rockland is a magnet for the most prolific violent offenders in the entire state. Per capita, the murder rate in Rockland is higher than even in the state capital of Indianapolis, and it requires its very own small prison. "We're under attack. I'll look the other way and let the motherfucker who can kill this piece of shit go free," Sheriff Cameron says, preparing to unlock the cells of the prison wing. The sheriff is well aware that without the governor's approval, he will go to jail himself for this act if he is found out. But in this desperate situation, he sees no other alternative for survival. The prisoners become excited, and he releases them all. Immediately, 3 of the prisoners fall upon the sheriff and beat him to death with their fists before he can draw his gun or call out for help. "This town is ours," says Matt Davis, a large man incarcerated on 4 counts of rape and aggravated assault. His enormous arms and thick neck are completely covered with prison ink tattoos of various things ranging from a famous motorcycle brand insignia to skulls of all shapes and sizes. Davis takes the sheriff's gun and leads the prisoners down the hallway. "Shit! That idiot unlocked the prison!" Lieutenant Hendricks shouts as he sees the prisoners coming at them from the other end of the hall. 2 officers fire at the prisoners and kill many before Davis takes them both down. Richardson fires a single shot through Davis's eye and drops him, but the prisoners continue to swarm forwards. 2 multiple offense rapists see Hendricks usher Amy further down the hall and slip away in pursuit. Humans that do not hide their inner darkness. Your strength shall supplement me far better than these so-called protectors, Yamura says, reaching the crowd in the hallway. Having collected weapons from the fallen officers, several inmates fire upon Yamura, who uses stored energy to heal each and every wound. Throats are ripped out, and necks are broken, as Yamura easily pushes through their ranks. "Girly, girly, girly," one of the rapists, named Samuel Asley, whistles. Lieutenant Hendricks begins to run, pulling Amy by the arm. Filled with excitement, the prisoners sprint off in pursuit. "Go hide," he says, pushing Amy down the hall and raising his sidearm. As soon as the prisoners come into view, he fires, hitting one of them in the chest. "Fucking pig! I was gonna leave you alive to watch as I skull-fuck that little tramp to death," Assilare growls. Yamura stops dead in his tracks, unable to take another step. He looks down to see that his feet are encased in ice. "Magicians," Yamura growls with hatred. "I really dislike your kind." Lane smiles, her eyes glowing a whitish blue. Waves of cold rise from her pale skin. "No magic, kid. This is all me." Hendry attacks from the side, decking Yamura through a wall. "He doesn't seem so tough. Looks like they panicked over nothing. Did you not see all the bodies around here? He's dangerous. Stay on your guard," Lane cautions. Yamura crawls to his feet, clearing himself from the rubble. "You say you are not mages, yet you display magical abilities." Hendry grins, flexing his muscle and causing his biceps to become the texture and hardness of granite. His eyes also become yellow, with thin black slits for pupils. "A lot has happened since you took your nap. We humans have discovered alternate ways to power. Consider this human evolution." Yamura tries to quickly size his opponents up before they attack again. The female controls ice, and the male can make his body as hard as stone. He looks at the other 6 humans in the room, all dressed in similar black fatigues as the first 2. Each of them most likely has their own unique abilities. The chances of making a fatal mistake will only increase the longer this battle goes. Lane throws a hand out, encasing the opening in the wall with ice, trapping Yamura on the other side of the room for a moment longer. "Kill him now while we have the element of surprise. He hasn't figured out our powers fully." Captain Mayfield ignores her, his eyes becoming reptilian in appearance. "Don't tell me what to do. This is my town." Yamura explodes through the ice, tackling Mayfield and driving both claws from his hands into his chest. The captain coughs, blood splattering onto Yamura's face. The Sicarii rips his claws free and pivots, slashing through the throat of another security operative. As the man dies, he begins firing his rifle erratically on instinct, shooting one of his companions in the forehead and wounding another in the leg. "Pull yourselves together," Lane shouts, forming a sword of ice in her hand and running at Yamura. Yamura blocks the ice sword with his claws, but Hendry again punches him from the side. Yamura takes the punch, blood running from his lips and nose. "Tell me, do you harden every part of your body when you attack?" "What?" Hendry asks, just before Yamura rakes his claws upward into his groin. Yamura pivots, shattering Lane's ice sword and slashing her across the face. "You're good," Lane says, freezing the wounds on her face to stop the bleeding. Hendry rolls on the ground in agony until Lane freezes his wounds to provide her partner with some relief. "We should have brought a more experienced team." One of the other operatives wraps Yamura up with rope-like growths extending from his fingertips. Lane forms another ice sword. From behind, the woman is struck with a steel pipe. She collapses unconscious. "You all right, boss?" a prisoner asks. "Boss?" Yamura asks, confused. "Do I know you?" "You're killing cops. And you're the reason we got let out of our cages. You're giving us a chance to fight back and escape. We owe you our lives, the prisoner replies. The name's Pinkston. Teddy Pinkston. Yamura pulls the organic ropes quickly, jerking the Conco operative to him. The man trembles in fear just before his throat is slashed open by the Sicarii. The remaining 2 Conco operatives raise their rifles, but are felled by a pair of shotgun blasts from another prisoner. We got you covered, boss, Pinkston says. You just lead the way. Yamura kneels, driving his claws into Hendry's skull. Do what you want with the police. I only desire the death of Enkidu's descendants once they arrive. Yamura closes his eyes and enjoys the feeling of his Siel Assilare ability, absorbing the energy of those around him slain. Numerous tattoos materialize on the Sicarii's neck and face. Soon they will come, and I will be far too strong for any of them to deal with. Not even the Father will be able to stand against me. Pinkston seems confused, but nods. Sure, but who are you supposed to not kill? Kill anyone you wish, save for 2 teenage boys and their father when they arrive. They are not police, so you should be able to identify them easily. Detective Osteen arrives at the police station and quickly hurries inside as he sees flames inside the lobby. He pulls out his radio as he runs, calling for the fire department. Once inside, it becomes quickly apparent that the bodies of many officers have been felled. He hears whimpering and checks behind the reception desk to find Ruth cowering in terror. Her head is bleeding, and her left leg appears to be broken. What the hell happened? He asks. The murderer. He showed up and started killing everyone. What? How? How could he take on so many armed police? He asks. He had invisible bombs, and he was so fast and strong. He ripped out Tom Daniel's throat. I called the fire department. I'm sure they'll have trained paramedics. They're gonna make sure that you're okay. I'm just gonna head inside and put an end to this madness. Be careful. Even bullets don't stop him. He just heals them. Detective Osteen hopes that delirium and shock are causing her hallucinations, but deep down a worry fills him. This description matches the outlandish story that the Livingston girl told us. Maybe he really is a demon. Maybe he can't be stopped. Lieutenant Hendricks fires again, seeing movement around the corner. You don't have unlimited bullets. We'll wait you out, Asley shouts. More cops will come. The patrols out on duty will return when no one responds at dispatch. They can't take all of us. This town is ours now. Yamura appears behind one of the prisoners and shoves his arm through the back and out of his chest. Behind him, Pinkston and 3 other prisoners follow closely, taking several shots at the remaining police officers. Actually, only I may claim that honor. This town, and soon the world, will be mine alone, Yamura says, covered head to toe in runic tattoos, so that his skin appears completely black. My power is now on par with that of a god. Asley throws a punch, but Yamura grabs him by the arm with one hand and rips out his throat with the other. Lieutenant Hendricks hears the struggle. He sees nothing until the body of Asley collapses into view, blood gushing from his neck. I know that you're protecting that girl. Do not worry. I'm not here to kill her yet. She will provide me with the perfect bait to lure young Rusty out here to me alone. Without her, I would have to face all three of the Rigsbys. But now I can single out Enkidu's reincarnation and kill him at my leisure. Lieutenant Hendricks unloads his gun at Yamura until it slides back empty. Yamura's strength has grown too great, and his power of Siel Assilare makes him nearly invincible when enough energy has been stored. The bullets are unable to kill the Sicarii, or even leave him with any visible wounds. "Hendricks!" Detective Osteen shouts, running into the hall behind Yamura. "Stay back! Bullets don't stop him!" Detective Osteen ignores his superior, firing 3 shots into Yamura's back. The wounds heal with rises of steam and evaporated tattoos. He turns to greet his attacker. "You humans rely far too much on your weapons of steel. A spirit not properly strengthened cannot defeat one that is far superior." Yamura moves forwards, grabbing Detective Osteen by the neck. Lieutenant Hendricks runs at him from behind and hits the Sicarii in the back of the head with his gun. Yamura turns, throwing Osteen into him and knocking the both of them to the floor. "Ristranta!" a voice says from behind. Yamura's wrists and ankles are suddenly bound by magical chains. "Ina Zumastra!" Yamura shouts in pain as electricity flows through the chains, electrocuting him. The electricity subsides, and Danny drops to a knee, panting with exhaustion. Yamura releases the tattoo in order to recover the damage inflicted. "You are too weak, child. Attempting to face me in your current condition is suicidal." Osteen and Hendricks try to attack him again, but are knocked against the wall by a release of energy from Yamura's hand. Danny tries to rush him in his distraction, but he turns and backhands her. She falls to her hands and knees, her teeth stained with blood and her breathing erratic. What your species lacks in power, they make up for in sheer determination. Danny straightens up and balls her fists in anger. "My whole life, everyone has used me. My drunken mother, her piece of shit boyfriends, even Elian, used me to murder innocent people. I betrayed the only person who has ever been nice to me without wanting something else in return. Jake was at the lowest point of his life, and instead of fully immersing himself in the darkness, he still had the urge to pull himself back from the edge. It was my fault any of this happened to him. I pushed Jake over that edge, and every death you've caused is on me. That matters not to me. Whether by his own actions or those of others, this vessel was readied for me. There is no going back. Everyone has made their choices. Now is my time. The time of man has come to an end," Yamura says. "You're an insult to the memory of Jake. I had the chance to befriend him and save him from his pain. I could have been the one thing he needed to save him from the darkness, and instead I sealed his fate. I can't look at you without seeing the mistakes I've made. That isn't your body. You're just a parasite wearing Jake's skin," Danny shouts, running at him. Danny throws a right hook, but Yamura catches her at the wrist and uppercuts the girl in the stomach with his free hand. She doubles over, collapsing to the floor and gasping for air. I've not yet encountered a human with the strength to match Enkidu. All of these passing years has caused mankind to become weak and rely upon tools and technology. Yamura reaches down and lifts Danny into the air by her left arm. I am going to kill you now, and use your spirit to kill everyone in this town. Soon, this world will fall beneath my feet. Danny slams her free arm into his face, but her strength is far too depleted for him to even flinch. Pathetic to think that you are considered one of the stronger humans. Danny spits a mouthful of blood into his face. Disgusting little vermin! Yamura shouts, breaking her arm. Her screams echo throughout the building and reach outside, just as 2 fire trucks arrive. The firefighters enter the building, but find that they are blocked from entering the hallway by a barrier of mystical flames conjured by Danny. They try in vain to put the flames out, but for some reason unknown to them, water does nothing to douse them. Shifting their focus to rescuing those inside, Ruth is taken to safety, and the firefighters begin to search for another route into the rest of the building. Yamura throws Danny against the wall and steps in, driving his knee into her chest. She is pinned against the wall, and she screams in pain. Blood explodes from the teen's mouth as her internal bleeding has been restarted by his attacks. Why do you not give up? Lie down and accept death. Allow it to wash over you and end your suffering. Yamura pauses, sensing another presence enter the building. He turns to see Rusty standing down the hallway, having entered a side door to avoid the firefighters out front. Come to face me alone? Yamura asks. How arrogant of you. We have a plan. There's no need for you to know it, Rusty replies, balling his fists and sliding his left foot back into a fighting stance. What a brilliant plan, Yamura laughs. Send the youngest boy to face me alone, while your father and brother cower and wet themselves in terror. Yamura hears commotion from behind and turns to see that Gator and Mitch have disabled Pinkston and the other prisoners. Who's wetting themselves? Mitch asks. The look on your face seems to me that it might be you. Cockroaches, Yamura growls. It's time to finish this. I don't know about my ancestor or heritage, but you brought this fight to my home. I won't allow you to hurt any of my family or friends, and I won't stop until one of us is dead, Rusty shouts. You're all bravado, just like the rest of your race, Yamura growls. Rusty runs forward, ducking beneath a right hook and uppercutting him in the stomach. Yamura staggers back a step, his eyes bulging, and he clutches his midsection in a brief moment of pain. Rusty pivots, elbowing him in the face and busting his lip open. As blood runs down his face, Yamura growls and punches Rusty. The youngster is sent skidding down the hall until he slams into the farthest wall. Rusty! Mitch shouts, rushing forward. Yamura sidesteps the older teen and delivers a swift kick to the back that sends him crashing into a file cabinet. Gator draws his Kabar knife and leaps at the Sakari, going straight for his neck. Yamura narrowly avoids the strike and thrusts his palm into the man's chest. Gator skids back and shakes the attack off, and rushes again, slashing with strong and precise cuts, each meant to sever an important artery. Yamura is forced backwards, dodging and blocking whenever he can. He is surprised by the human strength and skill. It becomes clear that even with all the power that he has absorbed from the police and criminals, the elder Rigsby is still almost on par with him. I thought for sure that your youngest would be my greatest challenge, as he bears the greatest resemblance to Enkidu. But you are the descendant who seems to have inherited his warrior spirit, Yamura says, slapping Gator's lead hand aside and thrusting a clawed hand towards his chest. Gator drops his knife into his other hand and quickly slashes outwards for Yamura's gut, causing the Sicarii to leap back in evasion. You've threatened the lives of my family, and I can never forgive you for that. I don't care if you're in the body of my nephew, my mother, or even the fucking Pope. I will never hesitate to kill you. Yamura charges up a black orb of energy and immediately releases it towards the still-downed Mitch. Gator intercepts on instinct, taking the blast to the back. The elder Rigsby drops to his hands and knees, smoke rolling off his back where his shirt has burned away. He coughs up blood, barely able to focus through the pain. It seems as though I've found your weakness, Yamura gloats. Your instinct to protect your children makes you vulnerable. So long as they are within my range, I shall take every opportunity to target them first. Rusty steps forward, looking down at his father and smiling. Take Mitch and go get some medical treatment. I got this. You can't take him on alone, Gator argues. He was able to outmaneuver me, and I have decades of experience over you. It's fine, Rusty says confidently. I can do this. I need to do this. This fight, it's always been between him and me. I need to be the one who finishes this. Gator nods and scoops Mitch up into his arms. I'm coming back to help as soon as I can. Yamura laughs, holding a hand out towards Gator. Do you actually think I'm going to allow you to escape? Rusty quickly closes the distance between them, grabbing Yamura's wrist and squeezing tightly. I'm going to stop you, for all the people you've hurt and killed. Yamura drops to a knee, grimacing in pain as he tugs at his arm. Damn you! The Sicarii curses, finally breaking Rusty's grip and leaping away. If you are so bent on dying first, I shall grant you that privilege. Amy steps into the hallway, hearing the voice of her boyfriend. What are you doing here? This place is too dangerous, Rusty shouts, gripped with a sudden white-hot panic. Yamura rushes behind Amy and grabs her by the throat. You've become stronger. How is that even possible? I will not allow you to have happiness. Should you somehow miraculously survive this day, Yamura leans in, whispering into Amy's ear. Say farewell to your savior. He has failed you. Yamura breaks Amy's neck and tosses her to the floor in front of him. She's dead because of your interference, Yamura laughs. What a hero. You failed to save even a single person you care about. Rusty screams in hysterical tears, running forwards and cradling Amy in his arms. She cannot hear you where she is at. Shut your mouth, Rusty screams. I have a special place for her soul right here, Yamura says, placing his hand against his heart. No tattoo appears, and Yamura becomes puzzled. Rusty's tears subside as he hears a faint thump. He listens closely and hears another and another. What is this madness? I broke her neck. Amy gasps for breath. Rusty pulls her close and as tight as he can, crying. "This is impossible. She died. No one can survive that." Still weak, Amy looks up at Rusty and smiles. "I dreamt I saw a light, but you grabbed me and wouldn't let me go." Danny coughs, blood drooling down her chin. "Nothing's impossible." "You? You saved her?" "But that's impossible. No spell is powerful enough to resurrect the dead." Dukan Hellas doesn't resurrect the dead. It can only heal physical damage, so long as the soul remains within the body. Rusty's love for her anchored her soul and slowed it from leaving her body. "I am so sick of all of you!" Yamura screams, his aura exploding outwards. "Your constant interference has taxed all of my remaining patience." 1/4 of Yamura's tattoos vanish in a black mist, converting into his power-up. Rusty looks at Danny's injuries. "Can you not heal yourself?" "The spell can't be used on its caster." She coughs up some more blood. "And I never learned any self-healing magic." "I'm really kicking myself right now for that oversight." Yamura runs at Rusty, hitting him with a left-right combo that sends him sprawling backwards. Rusty rolls back over his shoulder and springs to his feet, kicking Yamura across the face. Yamura staggers back, but manages to kick Rusty in the chin and lift him off the floor. Yamura rushes forwards, delivering a solid punch to the chest. Yamura aims his index finger at Rusty, the finger glowing with bright red energy. All of his strength is being focused into one spot. He's going to shoot a condensed beam of energy. The dumb kid probably has no clue, Danny thinks, feeling the Sakari's aura rising. Rusty runs at his opponent and leaps into the air, bringing his fist back to strike. "Look out!" Danny screams. Yamura releases the energy beam, but Rusty throws his weight to the side to dodge. "Stupid boy! You still believe this is all about you?" Rusty looks back to see Danny lying on the floor. A large, smoking hole is burned through her chest. Her eyes remain open, staring lifelessly at the ceiling. "Danny!" Rusty screams as Amy runs to check on the girl. 2 days ago, you could have cared less about the fate of this girl. Now you mourn her passing. You're wrong. I would have never justified her death, whether I knew her or not. No one deserves what you've done to them. Come at me. This battle will continue along the same path as before. Where I failed with your whore, I shall succeed with this one. Rusty runs at him, but Yamura knocks him back with a Basa Ia energy blast. I will utilize all of the strength I've collected in order to transform this vessel into my true form. Then my strength shall increase 5-fold.